Welcome to the Thriving Tides podcast. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Julianne. If you're an entrepreneur or busy individual looking for self-care ideas, you're in the right place.
And we can't wait to share our experiences with you. The day is here.
The
day is here. Season 2, a finale. Holy, that seems like the emoji with the exploding head.
Big time. Yeah, like can't even wrap my head around it.
Right? And it's funny because I was talking to James, like, oh, like you guys only done like maybe 30 episodes. I'm like, oh no, we've done like
45 today. This is number 45, which just seems incredible because had we even had this conversation yet a year ago? That we were going to do this?
Because I was just starting to formulate the idea.
Yeah.
Because we didn't start really talking about it until August. So in August, I think will be our 1 year of sitting out at Victoria Park, dreaming and planning. Now the weather's getting
nice again. We need to book some of those in.
Right? Yeah. So
season 2 finale. Wild. And we're changing it up.
Yeah, our first ever Q&A episode. And to be perfectly honest, I am absolutely blown away. Thank you guys so much for replying to our questions because I thought we were going to have to fill in some makeshift questions.
I swear people asked us this.
You're right. But literally, we don't have to even do that because we got so many amazing questions. So thank you guys so much. We really, really appreciate it. And they're really good questions, too. So I'm really excited to dive in.
Yeah, some of them I was like, whew, I don't know. I don't really have to think about these, but I'm excited.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So should we just dive in?
Let's just dive into it, I guess, yeah.
Where do we start?
Clearly, we've never done a Q&A episode before.
I think, okay, I'm just going to pick one, and then I'm going to highlight them as we do them.
Perfect.
This is how my brain works. So I want to talk about tips for a new business owner who's starting out their journey, who might be feeling a little overwhelmed or scared.
Ooh, that's a tricky one because I think we've all, obviously as entrepreneurs, we've all kind of been there where
at some point,
it's super scary. And I know I've tried to build a business at least 3 times before starting Summer Street Creative, and I always would dip out as soon as it wasn't going exactly how I planned. This was the first time that I actually was
stuck with it.
Stick with it.
And you just hit 3 years, right?
I just hit 3 years on May 31st, which is really freaking crazy when you think about it. And also, it feels like I call myself a new business owner all the time, which is so weird because I'm not. And
when do you drop the new, I wonder?
Right? I hear it's after a year, you're no longer a new business.
But there's always so much to learn.
Exactly.
So you feel new.
Right.
Because each time you level up. But I know we're not answering the question right now. So you go. How do you,
I think the biggest part is having small steps and realistic goals. 'Cause like I said before, I had wanted to get a client right out the gate. And I had this expectation that, if I build my website, I do a little bit of marketing here, within a week I should get a client.
Yeah. Or 10.
Or 10. But when I started Summer Street Creative, it took me about a month and a half to get my first client. Especially for what I do, and probably the same with you, a lot of it is word of mouth. So it's just kind of being consistent with everything, and also just not remember, don't compare yourself to others, especially businesses that are already established and doing it, because that's what I used to do that all the time, and I like the saying, you can't really compare someone's half-written book to your new book. Or the new chapter. I don't know. There's a saying that's attached to it. I don't know.
Well, it's don't compare your beginning to someone else's middle.
Yeah.
Is another one that I like. It's kind of along the same lines.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So.
Because it's so easy to think, oh, well, look at them. They're so successful. And that probably just happened overnight for them.
Right.
It never happens overnight.
No. What about you?
Yeah. Well, that's my big thing is just trusting the process and knowing that good things take time.
Yeah.
So keep on the path. Don't feel I've done this for a week and it's not working, so I need to reevaluate, revamp, whatever. If it's been a long time and nothing's happening, then yeah, you might want to reevaluate. But every time things aren't going as quickly as you want, just find the patience and keep doing the work. Don't get in over your head and feel like you're a failure just because things aren't launching as quickly as you thought. I honestly, like, once I got my first client, I was like, unstoppable. I got this. No problem. I'm going to be hitting 6 figures by the end of the year. Didn't happen. Yeah. And it is good to have that confidence. As entrepreneurs, we need to. Otherwise, we'd never get anywhere. And it's important to just slow down. And like, when you're first starting too, chances are you don't have all your processes and your documents and all your stuff. So if you did get all the clients you wished for, you might actually crumble.
Oh, definitely.
So sometimes things taking a slow start is key. And another big thing I wanted to say too is, like, don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yes.
If you're feeling really overwhelmed and fearful, that is the best time to speak up and voice it.
Exactly.
Holding it all in on your own is only going to make it snowball.
Exactly.
So just slow down, be patient, and talk to people.
And seek funding. Dude, there's so much funding out there. Well, in our province especially.
Yeah.
They're actually really pretty good about, like, most clients that I work with actually use, like, funding to work with me, which is really cool.
Same.
I think that's another thing too. I wish, like, I got funding when I started, but I didn't get, like, all the funding. Like, there's so much more I could probably get, but I just, I'm not a new business anymore.
That too can feel overwhelming though.
Oh,
right? Like,
yeah.
if you're new to navigating the world of, like, grants and all of that, but know that the folks who administer those programs want you to get the money. They want you to have it. So just call them and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. Do you have any programs that fit my needs?
Exactly.
That's what they're there for.
Exactly. No, I like that one.
I like it.
So it's funny. This one, it's not a question, just love your podcast. Paula from Oregon, which I think is really cool. Yeah. So thank you. Did I say Oregon or Oregon? Is that how you say it?
Oregon? Now I'm saying oregano in my head.
Right.
Oregon.
We're
Canadians. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're so sorry, Paula. We really appreciate you listening, Paula.
Keep listening,
please keep listening. Let us know if we're pronouncing it right or wrong. But yeah, I really liked that comment because I was just like, oh, that's just so sweet.
Yeah, we always love when people take the time to just give us a little shout out, no matter what it is.
Exactly. So another one is, what is your why to keep you going on the harder days?
Changes. Do you want to answer first?
Sure. Yeah, so this one's kind of, it's a hard one because I feel like I personally haven't really defined it, and it changes all the time. I know for sure, like, I like the freedom to be able to be there for my family, my friends, but, like, to define exactly what my why is, I'm still trying to figure out my purpose and everything. I know I'm good at what I do when it comes to, like, work, and my why attached to that, I'm still discovering, and I think everyone always, your why always changes.
I think it evolves as you evolve.
Exactly.
Probably.
Exactly. But then when it comes to, like, the podcast, I do think that, like, what we're doing is actually really helping others. And even though it's, like, it's a lot of work with, like, no monetary gain yet, I'm still happy to be, like, building this community. And, like, whenever we get the message that someone listened to our episode and they really enjoyed it, or it impacted them, or it helped them, that literally reinforces my why, because, like I said, like, a year ago, I was in such a weird, dark place, and when I look at everything now, it just kind of makes everything a little bit better, and it reinforces the why we're doing this, because it is a lot of work, but it's been worth it. Like, I I definitely, it's easy to define the why for the podcast. But.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah, I like how you just answered that broadly and then toned it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, like I go back to what my values are and like what I really want out of life. And so when I'm like, there are certainly days where I'm like, I could just go get a corporate job.
Yeah.
Actually, I met with my accountant today and he's like, you could be making like 6-7 figures, like be super comfortable financially, do your thing. And he's like, I just have so much respect for the fact that you just like go after what you want. And that meant a lot to me because it's true. Like there's days where it's like, I could just go get a salaried job again and know that I'm going to get a certain amount of money in my bank account every 2 weeks and probably still be very challenged. I was very fulfilled in my career when I lived out west. And, so a lot of people look at me and think like, why would you ever leave that to the uncertainty of entrepreneurship? But for me, freedom is a huge value of mine.
Yeah.
Flexibility also, and growth.
Yeah.
So I get all of those and more when it comes to running my own businesses and being able to build my own schedule. And that's what keeps me going. I'm building a life of my dreams and I'm helping others figure out what that is for them at the same time, which is so cool. That's awesome. If it's through my coaching, it's like helping them define what's important to them, have conversations that make their relationships more meaningful and deep. If it's tourism and taking them out fishing, I'm getting them to have fun and, the freedom and the fun. And then with the podcast, it's helping people take care of themselves. Like, I feel like everything that I do has the common theme of helping. Mm-hmm. But I also then get to help myself in doing it. So
that's awesome.
The days where it's just like, why am I doing this? You just have to look back at that. And that feels really, really good.
Exactly. I love that.
Yeah. But the hard days do come.
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
Well, it's so true. Like, it's funny that you say that you could go get a job and you've looked at jobs too, because even I was at the same boat, especially when I was like no money was coming in and it was a little sparse for a while there. I looked for jobs because I was just like, do I really want the stress and anxiety? But then sure enough, I went back to my why, like when I even got to the interview process and I started really thinking, do I really want to do this? Like, there's a reason why I didn't apply for jobs, It just, I had to really think back on why I went into entrepreneurship to begin with. And yeah, freedom, I think, is like the biggest one for both of us. Yeah. But luckily that job fell through in general, so I didn't have to worry about denying it or anything. And yeah, hey, everything happens for a reason, the way I look at it. So
yeah, sometimes it's just meant to be or not meant to be. Yeah, I like that. I like this next question too. So it's like, because we're talking about like all the things that we do. What are your best tips for balancing work life, real life, social media, emails? The list goes on.
Oh man. I feel like you need to answer this one because you have more going on than I do first. Miss 3 different commitments.
Yeah. It's amazing and overwhelming at times. But yeah, like honestly, it's getting really clear on what you want. At least that's what's really worked for me. Knowing like what is a non-negotiable of, if I'm not going to work on the weekends, then I'm not going to work on the weekends. And if I have a cutoff time in the evenings, so be it. I do have a lot of flexibility. I also have a very busy partner. So I try to line up the times that I'm working for when I know he's going to be working or at the studio. And then that really helps too. So we don't feel like we're kind of like two ships passing in the night all the time.
Yeah.
And my schedule is my lifeline. So if you want to hang out with me as a friend, you probably are going to have to book me a couple weeks in advance. And that's just life. Sometimes I can do things spur of the moment, but oftentimes my life is just very scheduled and I'm okay with that. I also have unscheduled time. because I realize that I need to just rest and relax sometimes. So boundaries being huge, just kind of like, when your boundaries are being crossed because you can feel it in your body. There's like the physical sensation, something in like, for me, it's more like in my belly or maybe in my chest that is just like, oh, something's off and someone's, taking advantage of my time or pushing or whatever. If you start to get that feeling a lot, then that's where you need to get more clear on what is it that I want here and how am I going to get it. Exactly. Not an easy thing to do, but a very important thing to do. And then like right now, I'm balancing social media in a different way. I just had a week of vacation and I'm back this week now. And on vacation, people probably thought I was dead because I just like dropped off the face of the earth and I needed it so bad. And now that I took that like clean break, I'm trying to just slowly inch my way back into it rather than just jumping right back to what I was, because what I was doing wasn't working. I wasn't enjoying it. It was taking up way too much of my time. I wasn't being as productive as I wanted to be.
Exactly.
But sometimes you feel like, well, I have to be on there. This is what I have to do. It's not. It's not what you have to do. What you have to do is what's right for you. And that's going to be different for everybody. I'm rambling, but there's so many things to say here. And like emails and whatnot too. Like I have 4 or 5 different inboxes on my phone, which sometimes can really frustrate me. And so I've just learned to accept that I'm very rarely will I have 0 emails, like 0 unread email. No, 0. Yeah. 0 unread emails. Yeah. And that's okay.
It is okay.
It's okay. And I'm telling myself that as much as I'm telling anyone else. And like recognizing that you don't have to reply to people immediately. That has been a big one too. That gets a little bit harder as we get closer to the summer because I now am going to be, like I joked to Dave the other day. I was like, okay, it's getting to the time where I'm always going to have my book with me. Like my deep sea fishing book, because that's our schedule and that's what we do. And then I have the phone on me all the time also, but I do still have boundaries also. Like I do have a certain time of night that I stop answering and voicemail can pick it up. And then I don't, I'm not going to start answering the phone at 6 a.m. either because people do call you that early.
Oh, yeah.
To book fishing. And I'm like, no.
What do you think? Business hours, guys. No. Business hours.
Yeah. No. There are no business hours when you're an entrepreneur. But you have to define them.
Set boundaries.
And just do what's right. So, yeah, I don't know if that really answered anything, but it's just also a lot of trial and error, I guess. Like where I am right now is not where I was this time last year, wasn't where I was the year before either. Exactly. It's an evolution.
What tools are you using to kind of help with balancing? The word balancing, it's funny because I remember someone saying that balancing is a terrible word to use because sometimes it's like
there's not a really
you just make it work.
Yeah, because it's not evenly
distributed.
Like when you think balance, you think like, okay, 50% here, 50% there.
Yeah.
My calendar is the biggest thing.
Online calendar or agenda?
Both. I use both. Can't help it. But I also have, and I talked about this, I can't remember which episode it was, but my time tracking. So I have been uber diligent tracking my time since January 1. So every hour that I have worked on any of my things is tracked in this calendar. So I can see, like, if it's Thursday, because we always record on Thursday nights, sometimes I've already put in more than a week's worth of work by now. And then I'm like, okay, you need to chill a little bit tomorrow because you're going to be burnt out. So I have this like reflection of what I've done rather than just be like, oh, I feel like I've been really busy, but I don't really know where I've been spending my time. And I feel like that's been a really big eye-opener for me. And now I'm seeing too, like, okay, which areas am I spending the most time? And is that the way that I want to be spending my time? Yeah. If not, how do I redesign it? So, and that's just a spreadsheet that is always open on my computer.
That's awesome.
It's a lifeline for me. Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, I have nothing to add to that because honestly, like I always thought that I was busy and then I met you and then I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't complain when I have a lot going on. But yeah, I like the word that you use as boundaries. And it's so true. I used to be the person that would reply to everything right away, especially emails, because I'm the same way. I hate seeing that there's a message and I'm like, oh, I know exactly what I can say. Like, I need to do it right now.
Yeah.
But then it's realizing. So now I have like a clear, defined, like after 5 o'clock, sometimes 4, don't talk to me. Like I need to cut it off for my own mental health.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, there's some. I won't lie. There's some people that disagree with that. But at the same time, you have to kind of put systems in place for yourself. My biggest thing is that I've set up routines. Like, I'm able to set up routines because I just have basically Semester Creative and Thriving Tides. And I just try to make sure as much as possible to set systems in place for myself, or else I won't do it. I'm a very, I like consistency in a way.
Yeah.
And if I don't have systems, I will just,
Yeah. So it's like a routine for you. Is what you like to have in place, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like, for example, at this time, I'll check emails, but then I won't check emails for another 2 hours, and then I'll check them. Like, I'll have it in my to-do list, and I always have a to-do list. I started my morning off with a to-do list, and I mark off my most important ones to get done. I think they call it Eat the Frog or whatever. The one that you really don't want to do, but you really have to do.
Yes.
I'll do that one first, and then I can kind of get the ball rolling from there. Especially because what I do, I have to be creative pretty much every day. So I find that kind of helps with my creativity. So I'm not scatterbrained. Oh, got an email here. Oh, there's someone who wants to call now. Squirrel. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I like
things
that.
like that.
Yeah. To-do lists are huge.
Oh.
I probably have too many of them.
And checking off that box feels so good.
It really does.
Check.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a good system for sure. And yeah, sometimes I am jealous of your routine too, like how you have your Mondays for Thriving Tides and certain times and days and all that kind of stuff, because no 2 weeks ever look the same for me.
Yeah.
But then I remember one of my top values also is variety, and that if I did have that structure, I'd probably get bored really easily. So it's the grass isn't always greener on the other side, but sometimes it's oh, what would that be like? And you just want to try it on for a minute and see. But yeah,
see, variety stresses the shit out of me. I don't like that. That sounds too stressful.
It's so much fun.
I like expectations. Oh man.
Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of like self-care when it comes to all of this too. It's there's no one perfect way to do it. So you find what works for you and be willing to evolve what that is as your business grows, as your life grows, as you grow. All the things.
Exactly. Another really cool question that I didn't expect that I really liked was, if you could give your 20-year-old self one piece of advice, what would you say?
That was a good one.
I really like that one.
Yeah. I was well, that's been a long time. It was a lot longer ago for me than for Steph. I'm the old lady. I think it's just love yourself.
Yeah.
Don't be in such a rush to grow up. Even though you technically are an adult when you're 20, you're really not. And don't take life so seriously. Don't forget to have fun. Because for me, it was high school, university, get a job, and just felt very,
regimented.
That is one thing I've thought of if I could go back would be take a gap year and travel. Because I didn't. I was just nope, got to achieve.
Yeah. So
I think that would be for me. Yeah, just have more fun, be kinder and more loving to yourself. And yeah.
That was more than one, Julianne.
I don't care.
I love it. No, I think, that's
it does say one piece of advice. I don't read instructions very well.
I'm going to give you all the advice.
Jump in and go.
So mine has nothing to do with entrepreneurship or anything. But if I could tell my 20-year-old self to not worry so much about what you look like, oh my goodness. I don't know if it's because I've gotten older, but I know I've gained a lot of weight in comparison to 20-year-old me. 20-year-old me, I hated the way I looked. I thought I was overweight. Because I went to Australia after school, and I was the pale girl, and felt like I honestly would get like spend so much money on spray tans because I was so self-conscious about how pale I was. And I just wish I would have known not to really care so much. Because it's funny, because now that I'm older and I have gained weight, it's weird. I don't feel... How do I word this? Obviously, I'm a human. I still have self-conscious issues, and there's times where I'm like, oh, I really don't feel comfortable in this outfit. That's normal. But at the same time, I'm also okay with how I look right now in a weird way, which is funny, because if I would have just knowing back then Stephanie, I would be like, oh my goodness, I look back at 20-year-old Stephanie, I'm like, I wish I could be her. Like, you look at the pictures, you're like, how could I think that I thought I was overweight in that picture? Like,
I've heard that before.
I look at my pictures now, I'm like, I wish I could get back to that Stephanie. But so yeah, I think that's like the biggest one. And not to like compare yourself to others, and especially when we like in like our generation, like I do kind of wonder with young girls that are like, especially with all the filters, and I was watching a YouTube video about how influencers, there's now video that you can actually record video. It's not just like editing on Photoshop anymore. A live video, and it can edit your body shape in the video.
Weird.
Yeah, so like that in itself, like, that's scary, because then like there's always that like level of separation where young girls can be like, oh, it's just Photoshop, but now it's like, how do you know if it's not Photoshop or not, because even in video they're looking like
That's
that.
terrible.
Which is so scary, and another reason why I'm kind of terrified to
big
ever
enough
have
complexes as it was without all this, like, yeah, it's
right.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing
yeah. Well, and even like listening to you say that, I'm like, like I don't even really remember what I looked like when I was 20. But I do know that like my confidence now is like through the roof compared to what it would have been then. Yeah. Because I was just like, party girl, let's just get drunk and everything's fine and whatever. And like, which, cool, that's who I was. But like, I didn't work out. I didn't take care of myself. Like, I would eat fast food all the time. Like, your health is so important. Yeah. Had I known that 16 years ago, who knows, right? Yeah, 10 years ago. Yeah. And 20-year-old me definitely did not know anything about self-care, right?
Oh, gosh, no. Self-care? What is
hence
that?
The drinking, the fast food, all the things. I don't think self-care was really a thing then. I don't know. Maybe it was. Was not in my crowd. So I like this next question is like, now that we're so self-care junkies, which is a good thing. This is the kind of junkie I want to be. Yeah. Is what's a self-care modality that you haven't done yet and you've been wanting to try? I thought that was a really cool question.
That was a really good question. Yeah. Well, they're all really good questions, but I really like that one because that one made me so excited. Yeah. There's a few. I just want to try all the things. Like, I want to get all the facials, and there's like all these. There's so much I want to try. Yeah. But one that I really want to try out that's actually in PEI is the float tank at the recovery studio. And it's funny because I worked with Mel, who owns the recovery studio, on her brand and her website. And so I know all about it. I know exactly what she offers, and it looks super cool. But I don't have a car, and she's in Summerside, so I can't really bike ride or take my little bike. It's a
bit of a hike.
A little bit of a hike. So like we need a bus or something to Summerside. But anyways, I digress. I would love to try that out one day because I feel like that's totally up my alley. And I also like the infrared thing that she has, the cocoon. I've done that a couple times, and it's amazing. I always love those. Yeah. But I've tried those.
So sweaty.
Oh, so sweaty. But like, I just hear that so many cool stories from float tanks and stuff like that. So I really want to try it.
That's fun.
And also, this isn't a modality, but like, I really one day want to do a solo retreat for yoga and meditation. it's like kind of on my take care of my soul bucket list that I have.
Yeah.
But it's pretty expensive, and obviously right now we can't really go anywhere.
Right.
But
we'll just go in the woods somewhere.
Right. But I know I think that'd be kind of like a really cool experience. But
yeah.
How about you?
I feel like I've tried a lot of things. So I don't have anything in particular, but I think I want to do things again.
Yeah.
Right? Although, like, acupuncture, I guess, would be one thing that I've never tried before. I'm not sure if I would love it or hate it.
You would like it. Maybe. Do you like needles?
Yeah, I don't mind them, but I don't think I can donate plasma. I don't think I can donate plasma if I get acupuncture.
Oh, I have no idea.
See, there's all these rules about that.
Oh, is there?
But I think that might be kind of cool. That's probably
really cool.
one that I haven't tried that I would.
How about cupping? Have you gotten cupping? See, I got acupuncture with cupping.
Ooh,
which was a very interesting experience. Yeah. I felt like mush.
Mush, perfect. Yeah, the older I get, my rickety old body struggles.
You're making it sound like you're going to the retirement home tomorrow.
Right?
I'm so old.
But that's why I love some of these modalities. Like, I will never give up massages.
Yes.
Like, so very important. But like the workouts that Bernadette has me doing, and then also like I've been running and hiking way more in 2021 than I ever have in my whole life.
That's awesome.
And I love it because it's so good for my mental health, but it's so hard on my body.
Yeah.
So anything, like maybe there's modalities I don't know about and that's why they're not on my list. So I would love for our community to tell us like what are some things I need to try. So I'm a person who has really tight hips and who has a bit of a bum knee and has a hard time slowing down. So you tell me, what should I try? That would be a really cool thing that we could do for like Thriving Tides field trips.
Yeah.
You know, what's a modality or a center here on the island? Because I do have a car that I can get us to.
Yay.
Where should we go?
Yeah,
where should we go try stuff out and then come tell you about it? Then we'll podcast. Yeah?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, because we got Reiki. I was going to say Reiki. We got Reiki.
Reiki.
Got Reiki together.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Yeah. So there's other things like that
we could go
down
field
to
trip.
do. Yeah. And,
I like that.
you know, I could probably get you to the float tank in Summerside.
That'd be nice, yeah.
Yeah, I've done it a couple times and I've enjoyed it. The second time I enjoyed much better than the first.
Because you kind of knew what to expect.
Yeah, I knew what to expect and had given meditation a try, too. Because I had, like, never meditated before my first time.
Ooh, yeah.
And I was just like, well, it is happening. I also was hungry. That was a bad mistake.
Oh.
So I was very distracted with my rumbling belly.
I
was like, feed me. Yeah.
And it's extra quiet, so it's like extra focus.
Yeah. So the next time I was well fed.
That's hilarious. Oh my goodness. I love that.
I'm such a goof. Yeah. Oh yeah, you pick one now. We're taking turns.
Oh goodness. Which one? Like I said, there's just so many good questions that I don't know even where to go. All right, so this question is, where will each of you first go when it's safe and responsible to do so? Vacation, self-care? This one I know was like rings to your heart.
I can't wait. I miss traveling. Dave and I for sure are going on a Hard Rock all-inclusive adventure. I don't know where yet. Either Mexico or Dominican.
Nice.
But yeah. Oh yeah. But it probably won't be the first place we go because that likely won't be till like January or February if all goes well. So the goal is to go to probably Cape Breton this fall. We were supposed to do that last year and then it all fell through. So that'll be probably the first time I get off this island in a very long time. And it's going to be amazing. So yeah, that's me. Yeah. Doesn't that feel weird?
Right.
But exciting.
It's exciting.
But you have a more imminent travel adventure coming.
Hopefully. We'll see. Yeah, so we're definitely going to hopefully go to Cape Breton as well for camping and hiking.
Oh, do you want to go together?
We already talked about this.
I know. I'm just picking on you.
Jeez. Slim pickings for me. No. Yeah, no, we always like to go at least every year. It's like our special place because that's actually where James proposed is in Cape Breton. So we have Cape Breton's like a really special place for us. So we always go every year. But in August, I'm actually hoping to go back to Alberta, where I'm from. It's my best friend's wedding that she's planned for like the 5th time. The poor thing. But with everything that's going on there, I don't know. And also for my own safety, like I ideally would like to go if I have both my vaccines. I have one, but I don't have the full vaccination. And it just because of what happened, I'm really nervous about traveling now, which is really weird. Whereas before, like it sounds weird, but we were so protected here in PEI that like we're all just kind of like ready to get off the island. Yeah. And now that it hits closer to home, I'm really kind of like.
Yeah, it's like, oh wait, but this is real now.
Yeah, and it's just so bad in Alberta just because of like I know like my best friend who's getting married is actually a nurse, and the story she tells me and like also what happened recently, I'm just like yeah. But
it's hard.
Which is funny because one of you guys did ask that Steph, where have you been for the last 2 interview episodes?
Yeah.
And it's funny because I'm just gonna again just tell my story. So the first one, I had to take a break from my mental health because unexpected money happened where I literally lost a lot of money in taxes. Good old taxes.
Yay, government.
Yay, government. Yay. And of course that day we were talking to Angela. So talking about money when I literally was stressing out about money. I probably would have been in tears the whole time. I was just in a really bad place. Yeah. And my mental health just like really took a low. But then literally a couple weeks later, breathe. My family back home in Alberta, my mom, my dad, and my brother, all 3 of my immediate family, they all had COVID. So it's real, guys. And it's weird because like I said, we're so protected. It didn't seem real to me. Like I knew it was real, obviously. Yeah. But like there's some kind of weird degree of not knowing we have here, like of how severe it is. Yeah. My mom ended up actually going into the ICU. And it was really hard because I couldn't even communicate with her, and because I was all the way across the country in PEI, I had no communication for a long time. And it was really hard because it's like your mom, who is normally very, like my mom's really healthy. Like, growing up, she was never sick type of person. Yeah. She doesn't smoke, she doesn't drink, and she got taken out by COVID in the ICU. So I think I wasn't going to bring this up, to be perfectly honest, but I just kind of want to have like a little PSA that like, guys, it's like, it's real. I wouldn't wish what's going on with my family for the world. They're still recovering, and it's been a while. And yeah, it's been a rough couple weeks. Luckily they are getting better, but like they're still recovering, and their energy is completely gone. So yes, please get your shot. It's it was really tough. So I had to take some time off, and it's just, I don't even know what else to say. That's just.
Yeah. Whew. No, well, thanks for sharing that with everyone. Like, I obviously know that this has all been happening, and it's hard to not like suffer in silence, but you know what I mean? Like, it's.
Well, no one knows. And like, even on my going out email, I'm not gonna be like, my parents are sick, I don't know what to do. Yeah. Like I just put that I had a family member in the hospital and that I just need some time. And that's when I'm really like, honestly, I am so grateful for you to be my co-host, that you could kind of fill in. It was really sad because I really wanted to talk to Angela and Sharon. Like I got to edit the interviews. Yeah. And it was just a rough month. May was difficult. But I'm back and everything's starting to pick up again, which is good. So I shouldn't hopefully leave, but I guess that's the beauty of having a co-host. It's amazing.
Yeah. We've got each other's backs.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, I hope that things turn out and you do get to go to your friend's wedding, because that's really hard too.
Yeah.
I have a best friend who's getting married in Alberta in July, and I'm not going, and that's really shitty.
Yeah.
But we have to do what's right for our safety and everyone's safety, and that's not always what we want to do.
Exactly.
So, yeah, we'll see how things go.
Yeah. I'm over this pandemic, though. We can just stop with it. Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
I'm just,
we're tired of it. Yeah. Well, and even like, well, I guess while we're on the subject, let's just talk about COVID. What else is there to talk about? But I mean, I am a tourism operator and I am chair of a board of a regional tourism association. So it's like very in my face these days as we head into what's a typical tourism season. We had a call this morning with a lot of our members from the RTA, and it's just like there was so much sadness and grief and fear and burnout and like just very few positive emotions in there. It was just really, really hard. And I didn't even really talk on it because I was like fighting back tears a big chunk of it. And I was just like, holy shit, like this really is real, right? Like, and it's a collective grief. And I feel like that just makes it that much like stronger and like heavier.
Yeah.
And like, I think this season, like what I'm hearing from my counterparts and my community is like, everyone's very fearful that this year is going to be even worse than last year.
Oh, no.
And so it's just, what do you do?
Yeah, and how do you plan for summer?
Yeah, right? Yeah. It's not at all what we thought we'd still be talking about now, too. I think we all had it in our heads. Like, I remember last summer, we're all just like, we just got to get through this season. It's fine. Yeah. Come next year, like, people are going to be flocking to the island. We won't be able to hold them back. Well, we sure are holding them back. Yeah. And I just hope that all the efforts that everyone's putting in to talk to the government and whatnot to, clarify exactly what the plan is and align at least with the Atlantic regions. But, I don't know.
Yeah.
C'est la vie.
Yeah.
Life goes on.
Life goes on.
But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. And like, I just want to keep holding space for people who need to have those conversations too. I think that's, like, just like you it wasn't you impacting it did impact your business. So it, but, to hold it all together and feel like you can't talk to people, like that's just really, really hard. So always know that, whoever's listening, if you're feeling these things too, like reach out to a community member, a friend, us.
Yeah.
We are always willing to hold space for others who just need to get it off their chest or just know that they're not alone. So Please don't ever hesitate to reach out if you're going through a hard time. Yeah. Shall we shift gears?
Yes.
I've talked enough about COVID today.
Yeah, we got a little sad, but let's flip it. Let's flip it a little bit.
Yeah. There's a lot of really cool questions about the podcast.
Yeah, let's go to that one.
I'm like, which one do we want to start at? I think this is a good one. What is something you wish you had known when you first started podcasting?
Ooh. Wait, it was my turn to ask a question. I'm flipping that on you. What's something you wish you had known when you started podcasting?
Rude. So funny.
I see what you're doing there.
I'm the coach. I asked the question.
No.
Wait, I'm not a coach right now. It's hard to turn it off, guys. I see a lot of parallels. Like starting a podcast is a lot like starting a business.
Yeah.
So it's been a lot of those same things, right? Right down to like picking a name and the branding and all that kind of stuff. As much as it was fun, it was also a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I don't think we've like been hit too hard in too many ways. Like we certainly just lessons learned on like the first guests that canceled on us, and we learned on how do we then better prepare our guests moving forward. And, you know, just like there's all these little things that you don't even think about until you face them.
Yeah.
But definitely how much time it was going to take was like an uncertainty for both of us when we started. We're like, oh, yeah, this is no problem. We got this. And we do. But figuring out how it weaves into the world of our worlds was probably the biggest. What does this look like for me? Because I don't have a day a week that I can just block out. So I'm like a pocketer. Yeah. Where you're a big chunk girl.
I'm a big chunk.
Just like, you're just a big chunk.
I'm a big chunk.
Sorry. I love you.
I like it.
But then like, so just like finding our groove and being in a partnership too, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like when you're on your own, you only have yourself to worry about and stuff like that. But like finding the rhythm of, so like Steph does the editing and gets everything up and running, ready to go. So that means that she has to have all of the written stuff ready for her so that she can just like flow it. So I then was like, okay, so she does that Mondays. So I need to make sure before Monday I have this. And it, you know, it's just like finding our rhythm. I think took a little bit of time, but, and we just keep adjusting as we go. But yeah, I think I guess, this is a long answer to a short question, but it was more just like how to recognize that it wasn't all just going to be fun. Yeah. And like to treat it really like a business is the only way to be successful in doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything to add?
I think I remember feeling the pressure. I really wanted to get video. Like I wanted video day one. Yeah. And now I look at like when you compare our listens versus our YouTube, it's really sad. Like we do really good listen wise. Yeah. But like I was shocked that YouTube, and I think we talked about this in last season finale, is I was shocked that like the numbers don't make sense. Yeah. Because we did have a couple people like request it, and we were really excited about it. But yeah, like I don't know why we put the pressure to get the video. Luckily, it doesn't add more work to me, but like it's more so. It
is some more work.
Well, I edit them all together. I just have to create a thumbnail and upload it on YouTube. But like it's an extra 30 minutes. So in the grand scheme of things, like it could be like if I do it separately, then it would be do we really need to do this? Right. But yeah, I think. Start small, I think, if you're starting a podcast, that's for sure. Yeah. Which is funny because we actually did get that question as well. Like, if you're building your own podcast, what's the best way to get started on your own podcast journey? And I think that's a big one, is like starting off small and like then building onto it. And when I was like researching for a podcast too, one thing that also was a huge one was actually having a bunch of episode ideas. Luckily, we already had that out the gate. We had over like 50 episode ideas. But I can't remember who, but someone, I contacted someone on the island that had a podcast, but they said like make sure that you have a bunch of ideas, because if you run out of podcast episode ideas, then where are you going to go from there? Right. I think it was actually Sarah Roach Lewis. Hi, Sarah.
She's a great listener of ours. Yeah, it's true though, because then it's like you don't want to just show up and shoot the shit and not actually be giving quality content to your listeners. Exactly. And then if you're stuck in like I don't know what to talk about, then you're not hitting, like, because we have a weekly podcast too, like that's quite frequent. Yeah. Which we didn't have to choose. So I guess that's another thing too, like figure out like how much time you have, and so then that will dictate how often you can do this. Exactly. And how many ideas you have and everything. But yeah, if we ran out of ideas, well,
what are we gonna do?
Yeah. We're doing okay, I think, though.
We still always have like a bunch of ideas.
So many ideas.
So many ideas. That's great.
It. Yeah. Okay, here's a good one. we had a great question from one of my cousins. How far in advance do you plan out your content? And I'm thinking she means like episodes? The actual podcast episodes. So was it my turn?
Oh no, I kind of answered the question.
Sucker. I'm just kidding. So we actually have like in our Google Doc, we have a what would you call that?
A table.
Whoa. That's a big fancy word. We have a table where we just flush it out. We're like, okay, episode number, what we're going to do. Because we like to go, you might have noticed there's a bit of a rhythm to, we do a couple episodes of Steph and I, and then we have a guest, and then a couple episodes of us and a guest. So we try to match that pattern as best we can. Mm-hmm. And then we start filling it in from our master list. So typically we will know like what do the next at least 10 episodes look like. And then we have like a rhythm and flow that goes with that too, where we have a Google Doc per episode that we try to have the next 2 or 3 ready at any time so we can pop in when we're inspired or have time to start writing our notes and
to
do our research and do all that kind of stuff and pull it together. So we do need to be quite prepared and looking longevity. Because also, like, we have some episodes that are very business focused and some that are more woo-woo, and then our guests. And we want to make sure that there's a really nice pattern to that as well. So it's not just, like, really heavy in one specific area and then forgetting about the other stuff, because we know that our listeners are very diverse in what they want as well. And so we try to match that. But
exactly.
Yeah, so it's fun. Like, I get really excited, and then I'm like, I go and I like highlight the ones that are done as they're done, and like really weird freak like that. But
well, it's cool to look at the table now that we've literally completed another season, because we started doing the table at the end of season 1.
Yeah.
So it's cool to have a full table of season 2. Like, be like, oh my goodness, like I felt like it was yesterday we just had that interview with that person. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Another thing too is that we do record sometimes like 2 episodes a night too, so it's another reason why we have to be more prepared if there's no guests, which actually had been a lifesaver for what was going on recently in May for me, like because I was able just to put it and I didn't have to worry about it, which was kind of nice. So I think so if you are starting a podcast, think about batch contenting your episodes, because that was because you just never know with life. So
we just changed shirts.
Well, don't tell them our secret.
Too late. Unless you edit this out.
I was gonna say, I guess I edited
You have that power. But it is nice to have a couple in the bank, because sometimes things happen, and then there's been times too, like we were like really far ahead in our recording, and sometimes we don't want to get too far ahead because we do talk a little bit about like what's happening in life, things like that too, right? So it's whatever. But like when your birthday came up, I was like, hey Steph, we're super far ahead. Your birthday's on a Thursday, which is recording day. Or was it your actual birthday that day? No, it wasn't. It was 2 days after. You were a Tuesday. But anyway, doesn't matter. We were far ahead, and I was like, let's just go have supper. And like celebrate you and celebrate the podcast and just be, because like us to have this wonderful banter that we have takes work too, right? Like we've developed a really strong relationship over the last year,
exactly,
which has been really great too. So so that's kind of some of the behind the scenes stuff, what goes on.
And how do we another question that we got was, how do we plan out our social media content?
Not as well as we do our episode content.
It's more so I will be doing the graphics on Photoshop, and I said, we have some spots to fill. Do you want to do this day?
You do this?
I'll do that day? Yeah, sure. Okay, cool. That's literally our content for social media, unfortunately.
And we check in with each other to see what kind of week we're having. Like with me coming back from vacation this week, you were so kind to just be like, hey, I just did this. And that was great. But then some weeks it's like, hey, I could use a little more support. What does that look like? Can you do this?
Or we just post one time a week.
We're, as you've probably noticed, we're really focused on our Instagram more than anything. We do throw everything else up on Facebook as well, but it's not as curated.
No.
And that's simply because I think, A, we both like Instagram better, and it's just the platform that we choose to grow.
Well, we get most of our engagement from our audience, our lovely, lovely, beautiful audience. Hello.
Hello, friends.
So yeah, I think, yeah. And Instagram, I find, is just a little bit easier for us to just kind of hop on and schedule and plan. Because I do schedule as much as I can. Or even like our reels, we'll draft them up and stuff.
Yeah.
And try to not create as much burnout, which again is the next question. How are you avoiding podcast created burnout? Yeah.
Same way I avoid all of my burnout. Just being regimented with my boundaries and stuff like that for me. Like, I know you're much more like specific in how you do it. So I'm excited for you to tell everyone about that. But yeah, it's like, and keeping it fresh, right? So I think the fact that we do batch some of our episodes so that we're not necessarily recording every single week, so it doesn't start to feel like a chore or something that we're like, oh, I gotta go do that. Like, I've never had that feeling yet, but yeah. So what do you do to avoid your podcast burnout?
Well, since I edit and create the graphics, I do designate the day. So like we're saying, I designate Monday. Monday is always my podcast day. No matter what, I'll do podcast first. And then if I have time after, which I usually do, I'll then work on other tasks. And it's like a no matter what kind of situation.
Don't try to book a meeting with Steph on a Monday.
Oh, you can't even.
It's not possible.
My Calendly is like, nope, no Mondays or Fridays. So don't do that. Another thing too, as I was mentioning, I think it works that we're a team so that we can kind of share the responsibilities. Like there are times where you'll jump in or I'll jump in. You don't really do the editing, but that's okay because that's something I know I can handle.
Yeah.
But that's why I think it kind of works. Whereas like if you're a solar podcaster, a solo podcaster though, I could see how it would be overwhelming because you don't have someone to kind of like either bump off ideas or kind of take certain tasks off your back.
Right.
So I think the biggest thing is setting those realistic goals and again, to start small, kind of like with like starting a business.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, like you don't need to have all the social medias. Maybe just start with one social media and then add on from there. You don't need to get the YouTube right away at the same time as well.
No.
And I think like I honestly I haven't felt ever, which I think is pretty good. I haven't felt burnt out by the podcast, but that's also because it's such a passion project for me and I love doing it.
Yeah.
That for me it's like, I don't know. If I didn't have my Mondays and I had to do it on the weekend, maybe I'd be a little bit different.
Right.
But like the fact that I designated it, I haven't
just designing the life that you want.
Exactly. Exactly. So
I like it.
But yeah, if you're feeling burned, and also like I said, you don't have to. You were saying you don't have to have an episode every week like us. There's some people that do episode bi-weekly or even monthly. I've heard some people do monthly. And doing seasons, I do appreciate that we do seasons as well because I feel like we would have just it'd been redundant too much.
Yeah. And we didn't take like a big break between season 1 and 2, but even just taking a little break. And that was around Christmas time too, so it all kind of just naturally lined up.
Exactly.
But yeah, like sometimes you just need to take a little step back and jump right back in.
Exactly.
Another cool question we had was, what big goals do we have for Thriving Tides?
Oh man, we have so many. I know when we first started like doing our Victoria Park picnic dates and like talking about inspiration and stuff, we'd always kind of go to like having a big event, a big community event where we could all get together and just do like a bunch of other woo-woo stuff and have some yoga and talk about entrepreneurship and just have like a really cool community time.
Yes.
I know that was big on our wanting to do's.
And we'll do.
And we will do it. And
One
we're
day.
going to make it awesome.
Yeah, huge. And then like all other little things that we want to do, not little, they could be big, but like we envision like merch and, you know, like just we want Thriving Tides to be what people think of when they think of self-care and entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So how do we get a greater community? I think there's so many different directions that we could go with that. But the event would be like a great like flagstone, and then there could be other little things that come out of that.
There's so much.
I really want to start. I really want to do an event. I can like picture Robin listening to this and being like, I'll plan it. Yeah, I got this, guys. But there's just so many things, both from the self-care side and the entrepreneur side that we can pull together and just have an incredible day or weekend. Who knows?
Exactly.
Lots of options. I think that's probably our biggest goal. I mean, we also do want to make money.
Yes. We would like to be able to make money.
Yes.
Luckily, we are very excited about the podcast, that it's not like, oh, we haven't made money yet. Oh, we're not going to do season 3. Like, no, that's not going to be it.
No. If we never made money, we'd probably still go.
Yeah, exactly. But it's more so like also be kind of nice to have money to, you know, pay for the website hosting and the website and Podbean.
And pay ourselves back for all the equipment we've bought.
Yeah.
But,
exactly. But that, again,
it's not stopping us.
It's not stopping us. And considering we've continuously have grown, I'm very proud of us in that sense, and we haven't given up or at all, even when some stuff happens. I find the podcast helps me, this is my self-care, sitting here talking to you and talking to the community and sharing my stories and getting to talk to all the amazing guests that we've had. I'm such a connector. I love talking to people, and so it's wow, how does this, how amazing is it that I just get to do this? Right. Sometimes I don't even remember that it's real. I'm oh yeah, I have a podcast. What? I'm a podcast co-host.
Who am I?
Yeah. I think it'd be also really cool to have some kind of give back as well attached to Thriving Tides.
Yes. Yeah.
When before you came on as a co-host and stuff, that was my biggest thing, was I wanted to do some kind of give back where someone that was, going through stuff like I was would have even more resources if possible. That'd be kind of cool as well. But again, you kind of have to get the monetization before you do that. But we have big plans, so just you guys wait.
Yeah, we're just getting started. We are just getting started.
Just getting started.
Yeah.
So interesting question. How the heck did you both get so fabulous?
I know who asked this. It's the people around me that make me fabulous. I'm pointing that at the person who asked this question, and all the rest of you too. I don't know. I don't think I'm fabulous. I'm just kidding. I'm pretty confident. Life is good though. It's just, if you follow your dreams and your passions, I think that it just you will naturally exude this radiant energy, and other people will be attracted to it, and just keep following it, right? Trusting in what you truly want.
Yeah, I like that. Well, it all started in 1992 for me. I
died when I read that. I was 92. Oh, I can't wait to have your 30th birthday party next year.
No.
It's going to be amazing.
No. Would you recommend this podcast for those who are aspiring entrepreneurs?
100%.
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
Although I don't know if they also meant if we would recommend other podcasts we would recommend if you're an aspiring entrepreneur. So I put my recommendations, but I don't know. We're running out of time already. We've been talking for so long.
Yeah. Maybe we'll do a post soon with shout outs to some other podcasts.
Ooh, yes. I like that.
Because we're going to have some filler content between seasons too. So.
And that's another thing too. We're not just going to be ghosting. We're still going to have a lot of content. And we have a bunch of fun things up our sleeves that we've already planned and excited for.
Yeah. And while we're not recording, we have been working on the back end of the website for a while, getting the content written, getting the design done. So that's going to be a big focus of ours. That's exciting too.
Yep. So my Mondays, instead of editing, will be now full with our website, which is really exciting. Yeah. So that was one of our questions too, is what will you do between season 2 and 3? What are you going to do, Julianne?
I'm going to write all the things that you tell me to write for the website.
Yes.
And well, a lot of my focus is going to be like getting ready for my tourism season, that kind of stuff. So like this is actually a really good time for me to shift gears a little bit, in the sense that I'll still be putting the time into the podcast, but it doesn't necessarily have to be in the scheduled time of like coming here and being in the closet with you.
Yeah.
I can kind of fit it into the nooks and crannies, or like block out the time here and there. So that'll be it. And just, yeah, I just had a week off, so I'm feeling really grateful for that too. And I'm, took me a few days to get back in the groove, but I'm getting there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Nice. I think that's, I'm not very exciting.
You're very exciting.
What are you going to be doing?
The funny thing that I have been doing is I've been unsubscribing to all my junk mail right now. Which, by the way, if you do, like, you should do that. If you find that you are mostly just deleting a bunch of spam, that's notification that you need to start removing the junk mail, and that feels so good. It's just so freeing. But really, what I will probably be doing is, again, just kind of keep working. It's kind of cool because another reason why I love the podcast is it's brought so many opportunities. I actually really enjoy video editing. Like, that's another reason why I find it fulfilling, because it's something creative that I get to do and I really enjoy it. I'm still learning everything, but I've actually been getting more side video editing attached to my business, so I'm learning something new to add as an extra skill. And like, I've always kind of have been very self-taught in video editing. Like, as you can tell, it's not perfect all the time, but I've been taking courses on the side, and I'm kind of just up-leveling my skills. So I'll just be kind of working, and I have a couple things happening with my business, and taking it easy. Hopefully I'll be able to go camping a couple times before we get back into the studio, but I'm really hoping that we get that website done, because there's a lot to do, but I'm really excited, and I think you guys will really enjoy it too. And
it's coming along nicely. I love it.
So when will season 3 start?
TBD.
Yeah, we don't know.
It won't be a super long time though.
No.
We just haven't, like, just with like Steph's travel plans up in the air and different things like that, we're just giving ourselves permission to not set a date just yet. But as soon as we know, you will know.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah.
And we'll announce it and everything.
Absolutely. Yeah. And would love to hear what you want to hear about.
Yeah.
What are some, like, while we do still have a great list of topics, if there's things that you want to hear, that'll either reinforce what we've already got on the list, or we can add new things to it. So don't be shy. We still want to be connecting with our community during this time that we're not recording. So
exactly. And if you want to be a guest too, and just reach out to us, because we only know what we know and like what we want to talk about, but we, at the end of the day, like, it is really important to us to make sure that you're getting your voice heard as well, because like we always say, this is a podcast by us, for us, but it's also mostly for you guys as well. Absolutely. So let us know, and yeah.
Are you sad?
Oh my goodness, are we ending the episode now?
I think so.
Oh no.
But we will be back.
We'll be back.
And if you really miss us, just go back and listen to your favorite episodes.
Yes,
and then tag us in them, and so we know which ones were your favorites.
Yeah,
I'd love to hear that.
I love that.
Yeah.
And just think, by the time we go back to the closet, it'll be even hotter in this closet.
Oh, good. Maybe what we need to buy is a silent AC unit for the closet. Does that exist? Someone help.
Monetize us so we can get AC.
We're such divas. All right,
guys. Down.
Thank you for listening, and we can't wait to see you all again in season 3.
Yes, and thank you guys so much for your questions, and please,
this was really fun.
Tag us, talk to us, all the things. We really appreciate all of you from the bottom of our hearts.
Yeah, and I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Thriving Tides.
Hit the subscribe button to never miss an episode.
Follow us, Thriving Tides, on Facebook, Instagram, and now YouTube to stay connected. And remember, don't fight the rip currents.